Different location was not so much sense to these things. I think feeling a little bit more comfortable. Hopefully, the only problem is one light behind my head. So. Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi.
Couldn't hear me?
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, okay.
So when you're looking for trig identities, in one of the equations, can you somehow get 0, like in an equation?
In an equation in what?
Or if you canceled out everything, would you get 0 or 1, or like what would you get?
1.
If you ended at 1?
If everything cancels out, it's 1.
Oh, okay.
Because we call it canceling, but really it's division. So like if you have sine theta over sine theta, we say it cancels and goes away, but it's really a number divided by itself, which is 1. Okay, so time to share this. It's 10 o'clock. Time to get started. I don't know. Oh, there we go. All right. I guess I could pull up. Well, I guess this kind of does a little bit of stuff. Yesterday we went over and started transformations, which hopefully are a little bit more straightforward. You've seen some of the stuff kind of before in the sense of finding the vertex of a parabola. We drew graphs of sine and cosine under transformations, and we talked about them in a similar manner. Is that okay? That's still loading. And then just it's like, oh, I'll get everything all ready, and then it's like, no, didn't open the file from yesterday. Just to quickly recap, we talked about translations, which are moving something up or down vertically or left or right horizontally. Stretches, stretching the y or stretching the x direction. A horizontal stretch effectively in terms of what the graph is changes the values of the x coordinates. Reflections we'll talk about a little bit more in a few days. Our kind of general thing, and being able to identify transformations and turn transformations ultimately into a mapping rule. So, and we're going to look at some of that today just to start, and then we can change ordered pairs based on a mapping rule. You don't generally change ordered pairs based on an equation. You usually, if it's for most functions, we deal with ordered pairs, and depending on how the order in this course is taught, you could do this first and then do all of the transformations of trig. That's all other stuff. So today we're going to look at this one, which I'm going to do the first little bit. State the transformations. So it's just filling in a table. That's a traditional one. Write a mapping rule from an equation. The point 83 on a graph, what would be the image of A prime under this? Make a mapping rule and apply it. Write an equation for a function that has been da-da-da-da-da. We'll probably go through some of those. And then here's an equation. Write a mapping rule. Figure everything out. So that's kind of the goal today. Hopefully we can do things fairly quickly. This is, if the cord on this is on the wrong side for that headphone jack, the cord's not long enough to wrap around. This is just awful, just awful. So transformations we talk about, once I find my cursor, pen, vertical translation, horizontal translation, up and down, left and right, like we said, vertical stretch, horizontal stretch. for this whole thing, we're talking about y equals f of x, some function. What it is, it's fundamentally irrelevant. The equation in general is a, which is our vertical stretch, b, which is our horizontal stretch, c, in this case, because that's with an x, is our horizontal translation, and d, which is our vertical translation. Just need to turn that off. Sorry. And we can make a mapping rule. The x is your horizontal because the horizon goes across. You jump vertically. So in a mapping rule, we're taking n ordered pair. We're manipulating the x by taking b. Oh, technically, this would be 1 over b because of how it's written, because it's the reciprocal. 1 over b times x plus c, and the y is a y plus d. So the kind of key thing that we need to be able to do, and the joy of this going forward, is we're going to talk about all sorts of different functions. Well, we're going to look at a mapping rule. Functions have key points. A quadratic has the vertex, and then you can do your over 1, up 1, over 1, up 3, yada, yada, yada. A trig function has middle, high, middle, low, middle or high, middle, low, middle, high. Other functions have the same sort of key points, and if we know a mapping rule, we can see where those points go. We know what the general shape is, and boom, draw a cool graph. So state the transformations. All we are looking, I'm going to kind of go through the first 4, and then let you guys practice later. We'll talk about mapping rules. So if I have a function f of x plus 4, this plus 4 is outside of the brackets for that x, so that means this part based on our just so we have it kind of close. That's our d, which makes this a vertical translation of positive 4. There's no horizontal translation. The stretches are both 1 because if you don't move something, you're not changing that. But if you don't stretch it, it stays. If you multiply a stretch by 0, then you have all sorts of bad news and things go bananas. So this one is plus 4, so we can use similar logic on the ones further down. F of x minus 6, because that's inside the bracket. This is our c, so that's our horizontal translation, but negative of negative 6 is actually positive 6. Same idea, 0, 1, and 1. I guess technically, if you really wanted, you could just only put the ones that are important, but my logic would be to complete the whole table. Now we have a 3 out in front. There's no plus or minus, so those are both 0. So the 3 out in front, that's our A, and it all boils down to this kind of map. A is a vertical stretch of 3 and a horizontal stretch of 1. F of 1/2 times x, that's going to be our b value. So again, 0, 0. There's no number out in front, so that's 1. So 1 over b gives us a vertical stretch of 2. And this is, I would usually write it as that sort of thing. So that's your homework practice. Even though there's more than one thing, let's, yeah. You guys need to be able to practice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those shouldn't take. Some of you may have those done already. So that's stating transformations. A mapping rule. Oh no, that's an image, not a. Oh, sneaky. It's on infinite cloner. Go away. The handwriting's too big for my liking. So all of these, for fun, are going to be some sort of x and y. Can any of you hear the chaos that's going on upstairs?
Not really.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, I can still hear them beating and thrashing upstairs. X, and I'm just writing this here so I can refer back to it. Bx plus c, a, y plus d, and I'm going to try to squeeze a bracket in there. So let's use this idea. Oh no, I want an arrow first. Nope. Arrow. So f of x plus 6, well, that's the d part. There is nothing for the x. If there's no transformations on one of the variables, x goes to x. You wouldn't do anything. There's no number in front, so this would just be y plus 6. The whole graph is shifted up 6. This is, although now I have to do that over and over again, that might get a lot annoying. There is something with the x. This is minus c, that switches the sign. So this becomes x plus 4. There's nothing at the end. There's nothing out in front. So that was supposed to be a y. Why? Well, there's something with the x and something with the y, so I'm going to need a little bit of a bigger bracket. This is plus 2, the negative c, so the sign switches. All of the x values become subtracted by 2. So this whole graph would be shifted. Well, this is probably going to be backwards for you, but to me it shifts to the left and down. It may go like that if you were doing all of that. The last one that I will do. Okay, I thought I started recording, but I just had to double check. Oh, we've got a number in front, so we have an A, so that gives us something with the Y, but there's no number at the end, so this one is just going to be 3Y. There's no number in front of the X, so that's X. Negative 4 minus C becomes plus C, and that's what we need to be able to do to write a mapping rule. This is your guide. If you're worried, write that down on the top of your paper. If we were doing it in class, to start, I would have those as big signs stuck up on the wall. When we had a test, I'd be a dink and take them down, but that's kind of the idea for those. So you can write mapping rules. I'll put answers up for those in a bit. The point 8-3 is on the graph of some function. What is the image point for that equation? So if you're asked to find an image point, we need a mapping rule. So x, y, the same thing that we had earlier. Well, I've got a 4 here, so I need to make that a quarter. X plus 3 becomes minus 3. There's a 2 in front of there. 2y minus 5. So the first thing is write a mapping rule. The second thing is, well, if I have 8-3, goes to, and I'm going to do this out kind of in a couple of steps just to make sure we see what happens. The x value is 8, so I'm going to take a quarter of 8 and subtract 3. The y value is 2 times 3 minus 5. A quarter of 8 is 2. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 minus 5 is 1. So for the base function, we have the point 8 and 3. The transform function and all sorts of fun stuff has been done. The point is negative 1 and 1. Write a mapping rule based on the stuff. Do a point. So that's what the idea is here. Write a mapping rule. Identify the points. Those might be the points we did yesterday, but it's somewhat irrelevant. I don't know why D is left off of that one. Now, the fourth one down here is a little bit different. I guess I should say, are there any questions thus far? Everybody's happy? Excited that it's Tuesday and it's sunny. And I don't know, it's Tuesday. Write an equation for a function that has been stretched vertically. So this one has a vertical stretch by a factor of 5. This has stretched horizontally by a factor of 2. Then it was translated 4 units down. So we have to horizontal stretch. No. Translation. So if it's 4 units down, this is negative 4. 4 units to the right on a Cartesian plane is, let's use the right number, positive 3. The vertical stretch, this is A, this is B, technically that's D and that's C. So putting it into our equation, so if I know all of those, identify, just put the numbers in. A is 5 times f of a half. X positive 3, so x subtract 3 is that, minus 4. Write an equation. We could also do, just for fun, a mapping rule. Well, my b is 2. 2x. This is translated up, so it becomes plus 3. 5y minus 4. Those are the things we need to be familiar with. Did my thing just cut out? Can you all still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just there was a little bit of kind of fuzz and it disappeared. And it's like, oh, did my computer break? Did something happen? Just had to check. So far so good. Everybody happy? We're as happy as can be. So,
Wait,
oh,
so sorry.
no worries.
So when you're saying, so the mapping rule would be what's in the green,
Yeah, a map.
and then what the question is asking would be what's in red.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do any more than that.
Well, yeah, technically, if you write an equation for a function that has been done that, it's just that was just kind of, well, we need to be able to convert an equation to a mapping rule, so that's what we have to, where we have to, like, it's that connection that is one of the key things. So I just did kind of an extra example. Oh, I don't want to give any of you control. I did that once. So 5, we have some equations, do some mapping rules. Now we'll get to those. We'll do maybe A and C or something. Oh, wrong way. We started with one of these yesterday. Your mapping rule. And I'm not going to write it again. I'm going to copy it because why won't you let me copy that? Oh. All right, maybe I'll copy it up here. What is going on with this thing? Hello? Well, this is not good. All right, it looks like I'm going to write it out again because I'm not sure what's going on. Oh, good, the blue circle of wonder. It's better than the blue screen of death that we used to get on Windows. All right. Let's close that one because I don't need it. All right. Rewrite it is. Sorry. Y equals A F. I prefer this form. 1 over B X minus C plus. No, don't want to add B. B. The mapping rule is XY goes to BX plus C A Y.
Can't see the
What? You can't see the screen?
Are you on a screen?
There's 3.
Yeah,
X and M,
I can see it.
and
Like, is it just Brody that can't see, or can other people still see?
no, I can't see either.
Oh wait, there.
I can
got it
see.
now. I got it now.
Okay. Sorry.
I still can't see.
Let's see. I'm going to stop sharing.
Come back, Ryan.
I'm just going to do everyone's stop and then start over.
Oh, there we go.
So we're good? All right. So if I have old wooden table, can't rub underneath because I'll get splinters. This is my equation. We need to write a mapping rule. Let's put the comma in at the end. We have, in this case, a C value, so there's nothing in front, so X minus 4, and a D value, Y minus 2. So we need to identify coordinates, so -3 and 1, 2, 3, 4. B is 0 and -1. D, C, let's do it in order. 2 and 2, and 3 and -3. So the first part, write a mapping rule, which is kind of the new bit. Well, identify ordered pairs. I hope you can do that because remember, we're doing this all in terms of X and Y. So all of the X coordinates, we're going to subtract 4 from. I'm just going to do the coordinates. You can do both coordinates for each one. I can say -3 subtract 4 is -7. 0 subtract 4 is -4. 2 subtract 4 is -2. 3 subtract 4 is -1. And if I make an arithmetic mistake, don't hesitate to correct me, please. Just like normal. So we generate new x coordinates. 4. So the y's, we do the same thing. We just follow the mapping rule. 4 minus 2 is 2. -1 minus 2 is -3. 2 minus 2 is 0. And -3 subtract 2 is -5. So draw the graph of the image of each function. So we have to plot these points. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 2. So that's A prime. B prime is negative 1, 2, 3, 4, and negative 3. C prime is negative 2 and 0, and negative 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we can connect these points. Let's use that one. Red. So A, B, C, D, and I was bad and didn't say. Let's hope I plotted those correctly. It looks all right. C prime, D prime. Now, what are the odds? Nope. Let's see if this is, no. What am I doing? I want to push. No. So hopefully I've grouped just those lines, which apparently I have been. Why won't you let me move that? Apparently it's not letting me move it with my hands, but in theory, this will be fun if this computer has issues. I just want to move it to put it over top of the other one. Let's see if it works now. But in theory, that should overlay if everything I did was fine. Oh, it doesn't want to do it now. Weird. So that's kind of all I wanted to do today. For if there's no questions, I will, after I hang up, I will kind of go through and finish these, just stating transformations, writing a couple mapping rules, and then mapping rules, points, drawing the new graphs. And that will be it for today. If you've noticed, some of you probably got an email. Like I said, just to break things up so we're not doing too much, and I don't want, I know some of you are working a whole pile. Tomorrow I'm going to try to find some questions that I can use as an assignment for this section. I've got some assignments in for some people for the trig identities. If it's got to be a little bit late, don't worry about that. If you can't do all of the questions, if you can do most of them, you can email me and let me know, and I can try to point you in a right direction or something like that. And then we'll do some more transformation stuff. I'll put that stuff up, so keep an eye on that tomorrow, just because I don't want to overwhelm and have you sitting on these for hours and hours. I think, and I've got to try to figure out a way to schedule what am I looking? What am I trying to say? I may, if it comes up that I cancel meetings, it wouldn't let me just do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So I might have to schedule a Monday meeting, a Tuesday meeting. I can either do that or start canceling all the Wednesdays. I'm not sure which is going to be the easiest and have you get the least notifications, because I don't want to keep pinging all of your stuff. But also, I've heard different stories from different teachers about, files not showing up on a phone. I don't know if anyone's had that issue, anyone that's here, if you've heard of that. Somebody said that they couldn't, like when they went to the files section when they're on a phone, um, if you just pull down and refresh, it worked for me. I don't know if you have issues with seeing files now. Everything is going to be in here. I don't know what I've got in there. That's the notes from yesterday, and I'll put the finished ones here. Um, if you have or hear of anyone with issues, let me know so I can try to find a better way to do this or a different way if we need to. But if nobody has any questions, I'm done for the day. I'll let you get back to whatever it is you have to do.
I have a question, okay?
Okay.
What did you want? You said we had practice questions. Was that what we were just going over? You wanted us to finish up the ones that we didn't do?
Yeah, like practice for today. Well, today, tomorrow. It's just these ones in here.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. If there's nothing else, have a good day. We'll see you guys all Thursday. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email or chat on here or whatever. See ya. Bye.
Thanks, Jay.
No problem.
Have you watched The Last Dance yet, or
I watched. I finished the first episode this morning and started the second one, and it's going to be interesting. I didn't know how much of a knob Kraus was. I didn't realize Scottie Pippen made next to no money, but I'm gonna end up watching the whole thing, and I wasn't even a Bulls fan, so.
yeah, no, it's quite interesting, and I think it will as far as the Jordan LeBron debate, it will kind of remove that bias with LeBron.
Oh,
People see how good Jordan was.
oh, and there was one poll that was, I don't know, last month about who was the best college basketball player ever, and people voted for Jordan. It's like Jordan was a good college player, but like some of the things about the draft is, oh well, we wish Jordan was 7 feet tall. Oops, I guess somebody messed that up, but apparently like everybody like Akeem would have been picked number one regardless of who had the Bulls would have taken Akeem, but
Yeah.
but it's the fact that he wanted to stay in college, where nowadays is like no, but he wasn't LeBron in high school, so the whole thing I didn't even realize. I mean, how many teams had camera crews following them around all year? So there could be more of this stuff out there, which would be interesting, but.